They're like, damn. Okay, podcast with Lindsay J. What's the podcast called? Wander People.
Wander People.
Okay. Take it away, Wander People.
Sorry, I'm trying to fish something out of my wine. Hello, and welcome to episode 2 or 5. There's a few episodes floating around. The numbers really don't matter. But what does matter is this is Wander People, the podcast. I'm Lindsay, and today I am chatting with Jordan Urbanovich, and we're in the very fancy, very French Mimi's Cafe. So if you hear all the ambient, wonderful Mimi's-ness in the back, you know what you're listening to. So.
And likewise, this is also probably going to be the first officially recorded episode for the Digital Nomadics podcast by Jay Herbs. So that's also cool.
Dual podcasting.
It's the New Moon podcast. That's
it is the New Moon podcast.
How relevant. Because it's the new moon in Pisces, too. This is the last new moon of the year. That's
really
huge. I mean...
It's so early in the year.
No, of the astrological year. The real astrological year is ending, like, right now.
Oh.
Aries starts in, like, a week or so.
Okay.
And when Aries starts, that's technically the beginning of the year. It's the first house.
Okay.
So...
I'm out of the loop with these things. I've just started learning.
Yeah. So I don't know much either, but in, like, the tropical zodiac, which I think is the one we use...
Mm-hmm.
Aries, the first degree of it is at a certain point in the sky, but in the sidereal zodiac, it actually like changes based on where it is in the sky, not like what we've decided it is.
Okay.
That doesn't make any sense.
I didn't really understand that, but
like we say Aries starts on the 17th of March,
right?
For example, and so that's the beginning of the astrological year.
Okay.
But we attach it to the Gregorian calendar still.
Right.
Right. So in reality, it really is at when Aries, the constellation,
passes
a certain degree in the sky.
Okay.
So that's literally the extent to which I can talk about that.
Well, that was good. That was good. I understood that part. Okay, so today, according to the internet, first I've ever heard that such a thing exists is International Women's Day.
Yeah, hashtag internet. Do you know why that exists, though? You know where that kind of thing comes from?
Make money. Someone's making money.
No, they're social media holidays. They're created for hashtags, so people that are working all the time to get followers can use these hashtags every goddamn day of the goddamn week. There's something new.
Yeah.
Throwback Thursday.
It's a donut. International Donut Day.
Dog Day.
Yeah. Love your neighbor day. There's always something.
But it's great for social media marketing. So props to the social kind of collective establishment that's created that, because it's kind of neat. Yeah. It's still bringing people together in some way.
I mean, hey, I love any holiday that gives me an excuse to celebrate the ladies of the world.
Go on.
I didn't really do anything for the day because I feel like I kind of post a lot about these sorts of things anyway, so I felt like I didn't know if I really needed to post another like lady goddess thing. I mean, like I just posted about tampons yesterday, so
about the organic ones.
Yeah, well, not even organic, just like non-toxic is more important to me. I don't need there to be a stamp of organicness.
Use a moon cup, right? Like.
Yeah, I tried. Really not as cool as I wanted it to be. It's a fucking murder scene, is what it is, and I won't go into it too much. Yeah.
Well, I can imagine what that means.
Well, no, okay. The actual use of it is fine. It's one you have to clean it. That's the thing, and I won't go into too much detail because I don't want to scare the listeners. But yeah, that's something that I had not really thought through. There's just a little thing, and there's a lot of blood, and it was a little closer than I wanted to be to my own menstruation.
Yeah. So you killed someone?
It feels like a psycho shower scene every time where you're just like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
We're really doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting that International Women's Day fell on a new moon this year.
That yin-yang.
I'm just kidding.
Moon.
It's not very interesting.
You just want to talk about the new moon
I kind
so
of
much.
Talk about the moon. Yeah. Well,
talk about the moon, Jordan.
Well, the new moon's always a big deal. And, like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of energy flowing in the air, like brainstorm, creative, intention setting. It's a good time for intention setting. And I organize my life into 28-day phases, more or less, by week. So I have projects that yesterday, today, tomorrow, and the next few days. Actually, basically yesterday, today, and tomorrow, maybe the next day. like I'll have written out all my projects, like my real like video, computer, like professional projects,
Right.
but then also like what I'm working on inside me,
Mm-hmm.
like personal development stuff, even physical development, sometimes like certain asanas I want to improve on or
Right.
accomplish.
Asana meaning yoga pose for those people who
Asana meaning yoga pose. Or
physical yoga pose.
yeah, just kind of goals in general. It could be anything. It could be a relationship thing. It could be a communication thing. So the new moon's a good time for that because your brain is really open to that. It's creating a whole lot of, I think it's acetylcholine. I think that's what it is during this phase. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a really good, big picture kind of perception of things, a vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's like, so like the next week after this week, you go into this like working hard mode and it's not as much big picture. It's just about like you know what needs to be done now because you
Right.
spent a week brainstorming and going
Conceptualizing
through.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
So now by that time you kind of know what has trickled away and what hasn't. You know which projects are really reasonable for you to get done in this time.
Yeah.
You know which ones you'll get some stuff done, but you're not going to finish it. It's going to take a few, moon cycles. And that phase is serotonin. So you have a lot of physical energy. You're feeling really happy. And I believe they say it's like a best case scenario feeling. So I personally can't vouch for like the how you're feeling about it during the different phases because I always feel pretty best case. I go through some
Mm-hmm.
downs, but in general I'm always pretty excited. And in some ways it's my kryptonite, being too excited about
Right.
things. So like on
Thinking
my
things are more possible than they are, kind of a thing.
yeah, well, that's good. It's good to have that, but it's not good to attach yourself to those. You know what I mean? Like, it's totally cool to be a dreamer and have like really awesome ideas, but it's
But
when you
then to be
attach
let
your
down when they don't. Yeah.
attach your identity to them. That is something I've had issues with in my life, so I'm learning to not do that so much anymore for my own sake. So the new moon is fun because it's a good time to really test that and see how how I fare in it. Because I notice getting way too excited still. So.
Yeah, that is difficult.
Cutting down on the caffeine helps.
I think I'm at an, no, shouldn't say all-time high, but I'm definitely having more caffeine than usual.
It's a good
I think it's
drug.
because it's a good drug. I just love it, you know? I love coffee. Not even from, I don't even know if I get energy from it anymore, to be totally honest with
Really?
you.
How much do you drink?
Well, that's the thing. I don't drink that much. I'll maybe have a cup in the morning, and then sometimes I'll have 2 coffees at work.
Is that before work?
I'll have one.
Well, what kind of coffee are we talking? Like lattes, a cup of black American coffee, espresso base?
Usually
What are you talking
espresso.
about?
Well, at home I make regular like
Uh,
American brewed coffee.
Like drip?
Yeah.
Oh, do you like drip coffee?
Well, when I boil almond milk and coconut oil and honey in a little thing and then I
you
mix it with it.
That's not coffee anymore.
Oh,
That's
but
bulletproof
it's
coffee.
oh man,
Yeah,
it's delicious.
but you have it with the honey that doesn't twist your stomach up.
No.
I can't do bulletproof with honey. It ferments too hardcore. I like bulletproof if I have an empty stomach. But if there's anything else going on, it fucks me up.
I put the tiniest little bit of honey though. It's really just to like add an extra sweetness to the coconut.
Dude, adding almond milk to my coffee is a very new development in my life. But honestly, I love it. It changes my whole coffee experience. I look
have
forward
to
to it in a
boil it
different
though.
way.
You can't do cold almond milk because it just gets all weird and curdly.
I don't boil it. I just like heat it up.
Oh yeah, I heat it up on the stove.
Because if you boil it too much, it gets all like yucky.
Almond milk.
It gets
struggle.
it changes colors. It's not as
Right.
light, and then it tastes weird and it smells weird. But then we have
It
one of
burns
those
really
little.
easily.
We have one of those little.
I know I saw your snap, the little latte maker thing.
I call it a latte maker.
I
don't
know,
what
I need
it
one.
is. It's just a milk.
I
foamer.
actually thought of you this morning when I was making my milk because I was thinking, really wish I had a latte maker right now.
Credit that to my mother. Also, we sprinkle cinnamon on it after.
I need to get.
I do
need to
that
get
every
some.
day. I can make it my own like beautiful almond milk latte at home, in my Perception Travel mug.
That's one of
Available on
my.
the-
Speaking of intention setting, I'm really trying hard to be on top of money spending, because it's easy for me to get caught up in the little things like going out for a coffee that ends up being $6 at Verve and these things, and that
Yeah,
stuff adds up so
almond
quick.
milk lattes. I've never imagined paying $5 daily for a coffee.
Yeah, so I'm really trying to cut down on that. So I'm really getting into my morning coffee ritual.
Gotcha. And then at
So-
work you can make coffee. Hey?
Yeah, at work I can make them
And
for
those
free.
are espressos.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I
those are more
usually
like little
do a
bumps.
double espresso iced with a tiny little bit of milk and a tiny little bit of simple syrup.
Oh, that's not an espresso anymore.
It doesn't
What do they
go
call that?
away.
What doesn't? The espresso?
Yeah. just
Kind
'cause
of,
you're-
though. Espresso is like what we just had. Just like pure, unadulterated coffee. Do you want more of that, by the way, or can I finish it?
You can have it.
Okay. I don't need it. Audience out there, I don't need it. So the camera over there, we're talking my audience.
Yeah.
Your audience can't
We're
see us.
I should I want to have this waitress take a photo of us because I think we
I
look
know.
very silly over here. We're
Yeah.
just sitting in a
Let's
booth.
Snapchat this.
I know
for
we've
sure.
talked about memes, but it really is a funny scene.
Well, it's not that funny.
We're so funny. Hi.
That was me Snapchatting that sound effect. I don't even
Okay.
like the video.
So back to the ladies. You know, Jordan. Just want
back
talk
to the
about
ladies. Oh yeah, go on.
Okay, so you posted or you tagged me in.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna read it because it was pretty intense. Okay, so Jordan tagged me in
It was really intense, right?
this
I actually
this
misread
photo.
it, and then I read it again after I tagged you. and I was
Okay,
like,
let's read
oh.
it so they have some context. Jordan tagged me in
Okay.
this photo on Instagram today that is, it's like a skeleton man with this like curvy woman with her legs wrapped around the skeleton. Really intense imagery. And the caption says, "This is a profound sketch of a woman giving her all to a man that can offer her nothing. The transfer of energy is real. If you're constantly surrounded by, interacting with, having sex with, pouring feelings and yourself into an empty person, eventually they'll suck you dry. Know your worth and surround yourself with people, places, and things that won't leave you spiritually empty on skin and bones."
On skin and bones. So what do you have to say about that? What did you think of that first off when I tagged you?
I think that it comes in this sort of evolution for women. What are you laughing
I
at?
found this really funny snap filter.
We're talking about serious things, Jordan.
Yeah,
and
it's
you
relevant.
filter your snaps later.
Okay, yeah, go on.
Okay, so I think I can't speak for everyone, obviously. However, I can speak for myself and women that are close to me that I think sexuality and self-worth for women comes in waves, where initially when you're coming into your sexual being or whatever, you kind of see it as, I don't know, seeing it as nurturing someone.
I gotta just do it real quick.
How did you find that filter? Okay, he just put a filter on my face on Snapchat of me holding a glass of wine, and above my head it says PornHub.
It's the
Much
PornHub
like
logo. So you
the
know
website
that's kind of like a
that
meme.
you've all been to, but we'll never talk about.
That's a meme online where you take some picture of a girl or two girls like just being normal, and you
Uh-huh.
put the PornHub logo over it, and you're like, oh, it's a sex scene.
Oh goodness. Okay, so sexual evolution of the female.
There you go.
As
See my
before it
point?
was-
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sexualizing me in a non-sexual situation.
Well, that's our culture now. Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy? We were talking about Dan Bilzerian today in the Instagram model crazy thing and how women whore themselves out to billionaires with millions of followers just so they can get a shout out or a tag on Instagram. You know, and like, don't get me wrong, I'm all for prostitution. It's the fucking first career on the planet. It's kind of in a way how we evolved into the humans we are today.
Right.
So whatever, to each their own, do your own thing. I don't have a problem with whatever you do. But how crazy is that, man? Like, the way prostitution works today, like, sure, we have the sugar daddy thing, whatever, like, but this is like, hey, you want some followers? Like, it's not even money. It's like just followers. Like, it's really
That's
crazy.
the weird part.
It can translate into money. It's indirect, and in a way, it may be even more valuable than money because it's attention, having more followers, and that can translate into more than just money. But it's really trippy to think about. And I don't have an opinion or judgment either way.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. But it's really interesting how this sexualization of women, in a lot of ways, has translated a lot of like goddess stuff into the world. Like we have this like slut-shaming mentality of like, oh, it's not okay for women to be sexualized or sexual or objectified. But yo, I mean, who's really in control here? You know what I mean? Like, who's really in control? Like, we have these social like judgments of that stuff. So we're like,
Yeah.
oh, that slut, like, she went to the Bahamas with Dan Bilzerian just for a shout out, and her and 5 other girls or whatever fucked him.
Who is
and
Dan
his friend.
Bilzerian?
The Instagram king. You don't know Dan Bilzerian? I'm voting for
No.
him for president. Look, He has 17 million followers, and all he does is have hot girls from Instagram join him on trips to the Bahamas, to Italy.
Where does he get his money
He's from
from?
Vegas. His father's a, a rich person, and he's just a gambler.
Wow.
But he's famous for being famous, as they
Maybe
say.
I do know who this is.
So just look at those photos. Speaking of sexualizing women. But here's what's awesome about him. I'll speak while you
He
just
seems
browse
like he.
through his profile.
Oh wait, no, he
He looks
looked.
like he's all into weapons, guns, boats, airplanes,
ew.
and women.
I'm
And
so
all these
not into it.
pictures. But here's what's cool about him. Look at this picture. Look at this picture. Where is it?
Dan
There's this one picture. He's in a
Bilzerian.
club. Total shout out to a man that does not need shout outs at all. He's in a club with these two hot chicks. One of them's grabbing his crotch. He's grabbing the ass of another one. I feel sorry for all you pussies in Hollywood that have to be politically correct. Very bold statement, because you know what? Self-made. It's the Trump-like thing, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
where
this is self-made. He's not an Illuminati pop star like, Lady Gaga, for example, right? Actually, I don't think she is, but she not a product of Hollywood, a product of some,
Right,
like,
where she's just been
machine
hoisted to
where
the
you
top.
you're not allowed to express yourself.
Right.
The company expresses you. And so then I remember around 9/11 he said 9/11, a day to remember, the day we lost our civil liberties to our government, right? Like this kind of thing. So it's like with all this, and he just talks about life before my bicycle bet, not sure what that is. And he just all these pictures and sex,
Wow.
hiking, and then sure, there's shout outs once in a while. Like this is a
Is
funny
he
one.
like-
Look at this. Because there's no visible nipples, he can actually show that picture of 7 or 8 girls all around him naked with tape
Wow.
over their tits and one of them grabbing his penis. So yeah, sure, it's gross and whatever, but what he's really doing is making a statement about how fucking ridiculous this world is. And you know what's
Wow.
crazy
This
about
is
these
so
pictures?
strange. I wish I could.
All it is a bunch of people around the world tagging their friends.
Yep.
All it is marketing. So sure, he may be an asshole, but I think he's just horny. I don't even think he's an asshole. I think he might have something really cool to say if you could really get behind the scenes there. So it's on my
I mean, he has good abs.
No, he's in shape. He has a nice beard. And I'm
His
sorry.
caption is, "I feel like Instagram is making me a better photographer."
He's got a picture of him and Donald Trump meeting in there.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and then there was talk of him being the vice president, some other Republican senator nominee running for president. So they were making shirts, Bilzerian 16. But look, let's look at it this way, right? This guy's got 16 million followers. Imagine, for instance, that they were all Americans, okay, of voting age.
Right.
And you know how when you do election, you don't have to vote for one of the nominees. However silly it may be that our country is only bipartisan, and even then there's only one person from each party that wins, like it's the fucking playoffs right now.
Right.
Who's going to win the championship? No, it's the playoffs right now. It's the different, the Democrats or the Republicans, whatever. Like it's all a big joke. But so imagine that those 18 million people, 16 million people were all Americans of voting age, and imagine that they all penciled in his name, because you were allowed to do that.
Right.
He could still win president. So imagine one day you have someone like that look, imagine
Joe
20
Rogan for
years from
president.
now. That's another thing. That's
Have you
another
seen
guy.
those shirts?
Yeah, I've seen him. But imagine if one day Joe Rogan, there's a text from Joe Rogan, a screenshot between him and Dan Bilzerian.
Was Dan on his podcast?
No, but here, look. Joe Rogan, hey brother, Lance Armstrong says he wants to help you get ready for this bike wager you've got going on. Want me to give him your number? Fuck yes, thank you, really appreciate it. Look, BP2269 bet me $600,000 that I couldn't bike from LA to Vegas in 48 hours. It's over 300 miles. I haven't been on a bike in 18 years, and I have a month to train. Getting this message from Joe Rogan was waking up to a blowjob and breakfast. He's just like Joe Rogan in a lot of ways. I would love Dan Bilzerian to be on his podcast. That'd be so epic. Maybe he already has been.
We should check.
I haven't caught up.
Because I feel like if he's texting.
But anyway, this election right now is such a ridiculous shit show of extremes where it's like, why shouldn't he win? Honestly, who cares if that guy wins over Donald Trump,
I mean, I'd rather him over Donald Trump. He seems to like women, so. Donald Trump's not super into women. Not from a sexual standpoint, from a, human rights standpoint.
Yeah. But imagine one day that 16 million turned into 16 trillion, And literally, like, that could be a legitimate thing we see in this world
Platform.
where the platform of social media is a way that people can run for, like, office, which is already arbitrary considering
Absolutely.
how stagnant government organization institution actually works, for how fast we
So many
evolve as
years
society
behind.
now. Yeah. So, like, that, I guess, in a way, is kind of the future of government, or the future of just, like, you go where that rich person can buy, a country, and if you're a follower of him, you like him, like, go over there then. Like, then there doesn't need to be any election. You just follow who you want to follow
I
and then
mean,
be in
just
their
like Bernie
geographical
Sanders
region.
has completely exploded because of social media. He's become just the topic of every meme and video and everything. So I mean, his entire like Facebook has, I think, way more so. Like, there's not a bunch of stuff about Hillary.
Because
There's
she's not on
so much
Twitter
stuff.
and stuff, yeah.
Right.
Like
He's
Donald
like
Trump.
using. Oh, Donald Trump. The scary part about Donald Trump for me, though, was I was listening to NPR the other day on Super Tuesday, and they were like just covering the end of the day, and they played a snippet of Trump's semi-victory speech at the end of the day, and he was talking about financial stuff, and he sounded really legit to me, and that scared me.
Well, okay, here's the thing about Trump. And don't get me wrong, anyone. I don't support any candidate, any party, none of that shit.
Right.
And, but Donald Trump, right? Like, everyone gives him such a bad rep. Like, oh, he's racist, this and that, wants to close the borders. Like, yeah, we're a country. Like, of course you want the borders, like,
Yeah.
secure. That's
Gotta
the whole
sneeze.
point of calling... Bless you. That's the whole point of calling yourself a country, of having these arbitrary lines to establish, this is your land, this is my land.
Yeah.
Like, so if that's going to be the system you want to live in, why is it not okay to, like, enforce that? So,
Yeah.
like, what's funny is that he gets this bad rep, and maybe he has said racist comments, whatever. But this whole thing about, like, that's not okay to, like, keep immigrants out,
Yeah.
why do we buy into the whole thing to begin with then, if we're not okay with enforcing the
Yeah,
whole
we want to have our
paradigm?
cake and eat it too.
Yeah, yeah. And, whatever with immigrants and refugees, I get it. They need somewhere to go, and I'm not against them coming in either. But I don't see Trump's argument a problem. But I think that's one thing that a lot of people blew out of proportion, that we don't even look at the foundation of.
Yeah.
Like-
Well, I was very on the fence about refugees because obviously in a perfect world, of course, let's give everyone a home. This is great, but there are so many we're like giving people from other countries a house and a job. What about all the people that are already here that would love a house and a job? It just seems so, I don't know. I'm probably going to get backlash for saying this, but it seemed a little bit like a slap in the face to Americans who are already here without the things that we're offering people,
Yeah, and I think maybe some people would say in response to that, like, well, why aren't they working towards, why didn't they get a job in a house? Like, they have that opportunity. Like, they're already here. But whatever. If anyone gets that, well, you don't have a house and a job, it's me. But I don't know. How did immigration work hundreds of years ago here? Like, we've been accepting immigrants since the motherfucking beginning.
We
That's
fucking
how
are immigrants.
that's how
yo.
America started, and sure, yeah, that's like who we are. But, like, back in the day, like, weren't there different waves? So the first wave was like the Irish Catholics, or the Irish, yeah, Catholics. And then the second wave, like 50 years later, was the Eastern Orthodox, I think it was.
Honestly,
Eastern
I have
Europeans.
not a single clue.
All right. Well, my grandparents on my dad's side were part of both those waves, or great-grandparents,
Yeah.
rather. So one came from Hungary, one came from Ireland. One set, I guess. And I don't think back then that you were handed a house and a job. I think you came penniless, literally off a boat,
Yeah.
like barely alive,
With nothing
maybe.
waiting for you, and you had to
fucking,
figure it out.
You YOLO'd it, and you either made it or you didn't. And so
Yeah.
now we're talking about all this stuff with
Like,
ref-
welcome to
immig-
America. Here are the keys to your home. I
Yeah.
have no idea how
I don't
it
know
works,
how it
but
works
that's
either.
how it sounds.
But I know
to me.
the Latin Americans coming up illegally aren't getting that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So
They're getting a handful of racism and maybe
Yeah.
a job in a restaurant.
But the refugee man. The refugee situation is definitely something that needs to be addressed, like, globally. This is a global society now. You can't just, like, look at, the U.S. Like, no, it's
No.
all over the world. Granted, there's a ton of space to put people here.
I mean,
In
there's
this
a
whole
ton
country.
of space to put people everywhere.
Yeah, but the U.S. has a lot of empty space. You ever been to the Midwest? You ever driven the, 40
Oh my
across
God,
the
I would
country?
just love it if they put all of the Syrian refugees in somewhere like Alabama.
Or Kansas?
Just take them over. Maybe that's how we need to change America and all of these people who are just super racist and have awful views on the world. Just force them to mix it up. You know? Here it is. Your community is completely changed now. Fucking grow.
That's a really interesting idea. It's really interesting because you could kind of document the evolution of. Okay,
It
so
would
I'm
be
doing
very
this.
quick.
We're doing this retreat in Jamaica in August.
Right.
So Perception Travel's hosting its first like big retreat, and it's gonna be not buy, not try, but quad focused or something. Each week has a different local celebrity that is the host.
That's
So
cool.
my mom will be one week.
Your mom's going to come to Jamaica?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So we're gonna host this retreat. It's gonna be on like this luxury mansion paradise resort, and we're gonna have enough people with my team and the retreat where a few of us go to the school every day and teach the kids and plant a garden and play music, and then a group of kids come to the retreat every day. So we rotate kids and retreat members, so you get to go be a part of this village and the school, and then you also get to like live on a retreat, an all-inclusive, beautiful place. So it's going to be a month long, but essentially most people would come for 7 to 10 days when their own local celebrity is coming.
Right.
So my mom's going to do one. The guy Anthony that hosted the retreat in Hawaii, he's going to come for a week. I'm still looking at the other people. There's a few yoga instructors in the area that I'm thinking of inviting. But I'm looking at it like I can just invite who I want to hang out with more and learn from, right?
Yeah.
And like who wouldn't want an all expenses paid trip to an island
Who's
in
paying
exchange
for it?
Well, I'm getting the funding.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's getting out there in different ways, but regardless, we're planning this retreat, and the way it kind of works is a big part of the grant proposal that I'm writing. The foundation of the retreat is not for people to come on vacation. No, it's to teach the kids social media. It's to teach because they've never had internet. They don't have computers. Their parents may have a cheap smartphone. They may know how to use Facebook and WhatsApp. Like, that's it.
Right.
So what we're going to go down and do is introduce them to Instagram, to Snapchat, and show them, because they're already good musicians, right? They just need to keep practicing with that. So we
Right.
recorded a CD. I released the CD last week of all these Jamaican kids that I recorded. And I got some people to make remixes, and it's really cool. So they're making their own art. And so in the creativity program that we've established down there, we're establishing, we're going to teach them how to use technology. We're going to get donated old iPhones, tablets, probably not a computer yet because
Right.
we don't want to complicate things. But when they come to the property for the retreat to learn, like a summer camp, they're going to learn how to use Instagram and Snapchat and maybe YouTube to make videos of what they're doing. So either telling stories or a music video or just playing music, whatever it may be, how to express themselves because they've never done it. And so the point of this is because if they never learn these skills, they will never be a part of the modern world.
No.
Never. And we're moving off so fast. Like you know me, I'm traveling a lot, right?
Yeah.
And out of the country, out of the developed world. And like, sure, people have Facebook in Nepal. People have little phones. But dude, Snapchat, it's hard to load all that data.
Yeah.
Instagram even, it's hard to, I didn't use Instagram and Snapchat in Nepal. I could hardly use Facebook because of the internet, you know? So like,
With like Wi-Fi in restaurants and stuff?
yeah, it's just the bandwidth isn't there. The technology's just not good enough.
It was
they use
fairly
old
easy
routers.
in India.
India, yeah, because they're more technological. But
Coffee day.
imagine going to the, God, coffee day. Imagine going to the countryside, being in the countryside of India all the time.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
none there. Yeah. So there's this whole element around the world, this whole element of society and how it's evolving very fastly that needs to be addressed on a global scale. So what you just said about, okay, let's integrate immigrants into communities or throw them somewhere in and kind of just like see what happens. Like, yeah, like I'm pointing to my phone right now. This is society now, like this is reality. Like we're so
We're
comfortable on it
cyborgs.
because we can just like, when you're waiting around for something or someone in public and you feel weird, like you're waiting, like it's not weird anymore when you're looking at your phone. You don't
No.
feel weird anymore, even though it's just
Your
as
own little
weird that
world
you're.
opens up.
Yeah, and that just shows you that it's not weird either way. Like no one's thinking about it really. But if you're on your phone, it's naturally like, oh, you're not doing anything.
Excuse me? What time do you close? Okay, cool. Thank you.
Oh, we only have 37 minutes. Yeah, so like I recognize this, like every morning I try to have like my processing, based on like the food I ate the day before, whatever happened. Every morning I wake up and try to clear it all
Right.
so I can just be pure all day. So part of that is like getting really high and going on a long walk in the morning. And I'm up pretty early, so it's okay. But normally what goes through my head that early in the morning is like this paranoia of people in the neighborhood. And granted, it's also my environment of the suburbs. But I'm like, oh, who's this guy in the morning walking around? Like, how sketchy is that? That's all my projections. No one gives a fuck if someone like me is walking through the neighborhood. It's not like I'm like doing weird shit. I'm literally walking as fast as I can, like just walking through.
Yeah, we're good. Thank you so much. No, I think we're good. Thank you. Cool, thank you.
Yeah, so like there's this paranoia that comes up for my own self, and so I deal with that. I get through it, and that happens like every day almost. And I have to learn that my environment is not me, and the energy I absorb from my environment isn't actually me, and I have to learn to make these walls and boundaries because me personally, my hardwiring is oftentimes, and this goes into the sex too. I have trouble distinguishing what's mine and what's not. So when we're talking about, we're talking and emotionally too, like. I'm a pretty pure person. I don't mean pure like holy. I just mean pure like in my body and shit. I try to just get it all out. And so naturally when you get out of your body, it kind of goes out of your mind. And so when you're kind of more vulnerable then because there's more shit that can like get into you.
Yeah.
Or you're just more aware of the other shit
more
that's
of a
getting
vessel.
into it. Or you're just more aware. It could be happening all the time anyway, but the more you get out the things that don't serve you, the more you notice like who you really are, and then all the other stuff that isn't you. So technically,
perception is heightened
way heightened. So I've been like going through this thing of separating what's mine and what's not, and I've noticed that especially with sexual relationships, this is why I've been very fragile lately in the last like month especially, is like yeah. It can suck you dry. And it's not necessarily the person.
Back to the Instagram posts that we were speaking of earlier.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily the person. It's like just the energy of the act can suck you dry. And yeah, so for the last month I've been going through some serious shit or the last moon cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And realizing that it wasn't mine. It was the karma I had absorbed. And so what's kind of beautiful about it, and this is where love comes into sex, is like establishing with a partner or with a potential lover is like, yeah, I'm going to love you, meaning I will absorb your karma and you will absorb mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I will process through that with or without you because I'm not going to be with it after. I refuse to be with anything that's not productive.
Right.
So if it's negative energy that we both inevitably have in some way, shape, or form that comes out in sex and we share it, right, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, if we don't clear it together, which I think healthy relationships, be them long-term or short-term, but healthy, loving relationships, sexual or not, you do clear that together. I think there's more power when it's sexual. But anyway, when they're healthy and communicative, you can actually clear that in these moments.
Right.
But if they're not, you carry it with you once you break up, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so you carry it with you. So for the last, like, however long, I've been carrying this with me, and I've been processing through it, and I've just been really fragile. And it wasn't until the last week, which is exactly the last phase of the moon with the norepinephrine, when you realize what you've been learning and you start to reflect. And I realized, oh, shit, none of that was actually mine. That was shit I absorbed. And then I realized that's what that other person was going through. Someone that's really special to me that I chose to intimately open up with and be like, yes, I love you. I will accept these things. And in a lot of ways, by me processing through them, it also helps her process through them. They're gone because I took them and I dealt with them. And so that can happen on any scale, whether it's sex or the energy in the air here and here, right? As it goes in, and it's up to you to. That's why monks in Tibetan Buddhist culture or in Thai culture monks and holy people in India, sadhus,
Right.
are valued because they clear the air with the meditation. That's why we support you. We give you food. We give you money because you're clearing the air, the airwaves with your meditation. That's that concept there.
They're like human sage.
Yeah, exactly. And it needs to be done. It's an
I
archetype.
never thought about it
It's
like
a
that.
role in society that we don't value at all, but we
No.
know it's real, man.
Well, that's something that I kind of struggled with when I was in India. The thought of these spiritual people who renounce their relationships, who renounce material possessions. It just seemed a bit selfish to me because I don't know, you have relationships with people, especially your family members, and then you just leave them and you go and you sit on the street and people give you money and you just are there collecting from other people.
You're missing a step.
What
in
step am I
between there.
missing?
So in between that, there's like an enlightenment phase. So
Right, I understand that it's enlightened, but I don't
well,
know. I
what
guess
you're
I'm coming
speaking of
from
is
a very
another
different.
problem. What you're speaking of is a problem in Hindu society because there's just a place for people to drop out and be on the
Right.
street, and they're not really holy men.
Right.
The
Yeah, I guess
true,
there's.
the true sadhus, the babas, you go into the cave, whatever, you into the ashram for years, as long as it fucking takes.
Yeah.
And you purify, you process, you become pure and clean, and then when you're ready and you can bring it back to the world and it won't lose you, you don't lose it ever when you're ready, meaning you cannot lose it. That's when you go back to the world, to the streets, so they say, because going with the flow, you're fine. You will always be taken care of. But if you're not there yet, you won't be taken care of. And that's mainly because your perception won't allow for it.
Right.
Right? So I speak of this kind of thing firsthand because, you know, I've always had ideas of that going on. But in a lot of ways, I'm experiencing a similar, like, Western version of how that's gone.
Right.
And so I'm just trying to amplify it with projects now. It's like, so I feel like I've found that love that they call enlightenment. Like some people call it God, Jesus, whatever you want to call it. Like
Right.
it's just love inside of you. That's an infinite source.
Right.
That's always there. But you have to learn
You
how to
learn
tap
to be
into it.
self-sustaining with your own positive energy and love.
I love this song, Dave Brubeck.
This is good.
Yeah, so you have to be self-stabilized because if you're not, then the other stuff comes in and it confuses you as to what the love really is. So we're talking earlier about having other things that confuse you. What you really are is love. And how that love expresses itself in this reality is creativity. So when you're being you, you're being creative all the time. And that's you. Everyone is different creatively.
You are creative.
Very
You're a
different.
creative person by virtue of just being alive instead of, I am an artist. I am a painter.
And this is what BKS Iyengar talks about in his transliteration of the Yoga Sutras, is that whereas an artist or a musician, they get in that zone, that samadhi with the music, it only lasts for so long. You don't do that forever. You don't paint 24 hours a day.
Right.
You paint for however long it lasts, and then you stop. It's a creative ejaculation, so to speak. A yogi lives in that all the time, but it's with life. Painting can be a part of that,
Right.
but it's with life, meaning you're creating, you're doing all the time. And so it's like the sleep thing, right? Those gurus don't need to sleep. You can meditate all night. Just sit up and meditate. And it doesn't need to be for very long because you're so pure anyway. Your body doesn't
Right.
need to rest or process because you're always resting anyway. Always working, always resting. Because you're never stressed out. And then you see the supernatural feats, the superhuman feats that the body is capable of.
Yeah.
And we always, like, I had this conversation the other day about Jesus, the archetype of Jesus. Because I personally think everyone can be Jesus. I think Jesus represents God on earth, and I think everyone is God on earth. We just have to choose to
Pursue it and cultivate it.
and, yeah, potentiate it. Is that the word? Like, actually, like, live up to, actualize the potential.
What would Jesus do?
And so the only difference between Jesus and the average person is Jesus was a traveler. He was a nomad, right? So, like, and so was Buddha, Gautam Buddha, the guy that enlightened everyone. So we look at Jesus as like, oh, he's this enlightened But dude, there are Jesuses everywhere all the time. They don't have to be traveling, you know? anyone you meet that you know has that shine in their eye and they love their life, that's a Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Because they're living in that love. They make you happy. You want to be around them.
It's contagious.
I've met yoga teachers that are like that. You know, they
Mhm.
exist everywhere. The difference is that Jesus moved around. But people like glorify this thing as if it's something they're not capable of. And it's not it's not people's fault. It's just the paradigm we've created over the last thousands of years.
Right.
But it's who we are. It's within us. Like, how did those mythological characters like Jesus or Buddha, how did those even come into our minds as humans? Where did that even come from? How did these people even exist? Because it's real.
Right.
Right?
And that's why the parallels between religions all over the world are so strong, is because there are so many of these different people who are radiating positive energy and love, but we've just chosen to lift up these few characters and sort of follow them.
And that's what I love about social media and the internet. And it's kind of like my spiritual perspective on what I'm doing with these kids is like, there have been so many people online, artists, musicians, whatever it may be, that have changed my life, like profoundly,
Right.
based on what they're just putting out there. And they might not have 1 million followers. They may not have like a ton of people that are into their work, mainly because of exposure, not because of how good it is.
Right.
But like, I was fortunate enough to connect with that. And it's really inspiring for me because on my YouTube channel, there's a few people that are really into my vlogs, which are just me talking to the fucking camera. And like, it's like my Snapchat. I'm just doing it because like, it helps me process.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's me being creative doing it, and like, people enjoy that. So
They're feeding off of it.
not even feeding off of it. It's just kind of radiating in a way, that creative energy.
Yeah.
And when it's real creative energy, you feel it and you can absorb it. Whether it's through Snapchat or through a SoundCloud song or through you and I here talking, right? When there's something really real and creative going on, you can feel the energy of it. That's why we love going to see concerts.
Yeah.
Right? 'Cause
Because everyone's
it's
on the
real.
same wavelength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and on the dark side of that kind of thing, you have like Hitler. Right, he
Yeah.
created an electric fucking field around him that got thousands of people into it. That's how powerful.
Hashtag Donald Trump, yo.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if Donald Trump does, because we can make it superficial through the TV screen. Hitler did it for real, with real life people.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have
Terrifying.
Yeah, it's really terrifying. We have disconnects now because of the technology, which may be a blessing in disguise, to be honest. In future years to come,
We can
everyone's
separate ourselves from it.
Yeah, we're separated. Everyone's so negative about everything going on today in the world, dude. We've got it so fucking good, and it's only getting better. Like, the fact that our political system's a joke is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing because it means it's on its way out.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be here anymore. Like, everyone's like all scared, like, oh no, the paradigm's gonna shift. Okay,
Beautiful. Let
Yeah.
it shift.
fucking God, finally.
Get out of here. Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was listening to all of these things and how much of a joke it sounded like. It has to be the end. Not the end and like the world is going to end, but the end of the end of this system, of the two people that just magically come out of nowhere and then all of a sudden their name is everywhere. It's like, who the hell was Bernie Sanders? Who the hell was Ted, whoever his name is, Ted Cruz?
Yeah.
That's how much I'm following this damn election.
Dan
It just
Bilzerian for
makes
president.
me want to
It's the
vomit.
only way. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's gotta go. It's gonna.
Yeah.
It's gonna go.
Because think about it, Bernie Sanders has great intentions, and he may have a lot of integrity too. That doesn't mean what he promises, not even what he promises. That doesn't mean what he wants will actually get done. Obama was a cool dude too before the election. He still is, but
Exactly.
I mean, like, he made a lot of promises too. And there's only so much you can do as the puppet in
Because
the office.
the system is still the system.
Yeah, and I mean, the last person that maybe could have done anything was shot, you know? Like, let's face it. If Bernie Sanders really could do something in office, he very well could just get killed.
Yeah.
You know, who knows? But, yeah, that's why it's like, let Donald Trump take it and let it all just go down. Because it's quicker than we have to deal with this shit. It's quicker that we realize we need to get into localized communities and start cooperating and working
Right.
together. Like,
It's
let's
too
fucking
massive.
face it. Yeah.
The fact that one person is supposed to be in control of such a massive area of land is insane.
Forget control, you know?
We're responsible for
You mean the people on the land? Or you mean
that.
land?
That a president, that
Yeah.
there's one person who is supposed to lead, quotes, air quotes,
The world.
the world.
Yeah.
The
Not even the
free
country.
world.
Yeah, the world.
It's
Yeah.
just too much. There
It's
should,
way too much.
as you hear people talking about their politics as, I'm a social democrat and a financial Republican. It's like, well, then you should be able to be that. There should be different areas. It shouldn't be you just lump everything into these two things. It's crazy.
I agree. I think we're
Dadgummit.
gonna figure it out though. Like, what's awesome, and maybe we should wind it down after this.
Yeah, what time is
But
it?
it's been 46 minutes. But what's awesome is that we're learning how connected we are globally as a species through the internet, through our devices. That much is clear, right? We're learning this
Right.
quickly, and we just got to catch up in the physical world, which is like letting these political systems die, which could happen overnight. I don't think so, but it could happen sooner. It could
Yeah,
happen
too many
later.
old rich white guys who would be pissed.
Yeah, and maybe it doesn't need to. Maybe it doesn't need to crash. Maybe it can just trickle away, because the only
Make
solution.
slow developments.
The only thing that really works is going into communities and, growing your own food and your resources sustainably. Being
Yeah.
sustainable as communities. That doesn't mean you can't interact with outside communities.
Right.
And there are thousands of people out there that have written their own proposals and ideas and visions for communities, right? And all these different communities can work together globally because we can be connected that way.
Right.
And then anyone in either community, you can leave to a different community at any time.
Yep.
And we're smart. We can figure out cryptocurrency switch-offs to where you can still have value. So I worked in this community and lived for 10 years, and I was worth this much because of my value. But I want to move to that community now. But they use a different dollar, a different currency. What do I do? Well, you
How do
figure
I
it
get
out.
there? Yeah.
Yeah, we learn how to trade, we learn how to barter. Like, we make it about everyone being valuable and everyone being special and that you're worth something. We make that the mentality. And so then instead, we don't have to look at, like, how am I going to immigrate to this country? I need to have these papers and a bank account and this
Right.
and that.
I made a mistake on my paperwork, so now I can't go for 7 years.
And we recognize that every place on the world is beautiful to be at
Right.
all times.
Mm-hmm.
And what really matters is friends and family and loved ones. But a lot of people don't have that available to them in their home country. You'll probably find it in a developing country a lot easier than you'd find it here if you don't have any living family, and you don't have like.
Because it's way more about connection because they don't have all this other nonsense clouding what's important.
Yeah, I feel so blessed to have to grow up how I've grown up, with all the love around.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine so many people my age that did not have that, and they're stuck in this hellhole of a country. Go travel. You will find people that love you
Yeah.
in places you would never expect it, in places that don't have running water.
Yeah. We should pay her.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for now
I feel like we'll.
for my video.
Hey. We'll continue this
Will we?
conversation. Potentially not tonight. Maybe tonight.
Oh,
I don't
this
know.
is good for part 1 of the podcast. no?
Yeah, part 1. This is
Yeah.
sufficient.
We could
Thanks for
probably do
listening.
a lot of these.
We touched on a lot of things that we then skirted away from, so we can come back to
I'm
them.
wondering how many loose ends there are still.
Your mom says that when she listens to our
Oh.
podcast. She's always like, "It gives me anxiety because you start talking about something and then you skip it and you move on to something else." And I'm like, "Well, that's
I
the
think
podcast."
it flows, though.
Yeah.
The non-linear way is the only way. All right. YOLO.